Thank you for your interest in the Retained Recruiter Show, powered by iIntro. Before the show starts, I have a small favour to ask of you. Our goal is to provide you with the most insightful, helpful and practical recruitment knowledge and know-how from the best in the recruitment industry. If you like this channel and enjoy watching our content, hit the subscribe button to get notified as soon as we upload a new episode. Thank you again, and as ever, we're rooting for your success. Now, time for the show. Hello and welcome to the Retained Recruiter Show. My name is James.
And my name is Jo. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here today. And we're not on our own, are we, James?
No, we're not. We're joined today by a very special guest and obviously friend of the show. Had him a couple of times, so welcome back, Plamen Ivanoff.
And thank you for welcoming me back. I'm always pleased to come and talk to anybody and everybody that actually is interested in retained recruitment.
Good. Well, Plamen, we're delighted to have you back. And for those of you who've never met Plamen, where have you been the last 15 years? But anyway, Plamen Ivanoff is the executive chairman of both iIntro and Gregory Global, which is a boutique recruitment agency. Obviously, with iIntro, we help organizations transition from transactional contingent to retained recruitment or consultative recruitment, which is becoming all the rage, this phraseology at the moment. We're going to be talking a lot about today, Joe. What are we going to be covering with Plamen today?
Lots. We've got half an hour. I think we're going to have to talk so fast. So we're talking about the basic principle of stop selling payment models to your clients and start offering hiring outcomes. So we're going to talk about hiring managers and what they're really buying when they engage with a true recruitment partner. We're going to talk about how to move your conversations with your clients from cost to actual value and outcomes. Why certainty, quality of hire and reduced hiring risk matter more than cost and speed. I know, controversial. How recruiters can position themselves as strategic talent partners rather than just transactional suppliers. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about building stronger long-term client relationships and predictably increasing your clients' lifetime value as well. So lots for us to cover, but Plamen is the man for the job.
Indeed, he is. Go on, Plamen. So, Plamen, there's a lot to cover there, and we used a lot of phrases, and we may not end up covering all these particular points because I know you're very passionate about certain things. And one of the challenges we're seeing in the market at the moment, and it might be impacted by things like AI, and today isn't a discussion about AI, but the fact is the model is under pressure, and that's why the title of today's show was so poignant. We changed it around so it wasn't just transactional or contingent versus retained. It's about payment models and business outcomes. But what are your views on the market at the moment, Plamen? What have you seen over the last few years, and particularly over the last 18 months, perhaps?
Well, it's interesting. Over the past 12 years, or longer than that, I've always remained a one-dimensional recruiter, if I could say that. The market's changed quite considerably because it required a trigger. It's the contingency model or the transactional models never been good enough, because there are certain attrition values that always impact on the client relationship. So for the last 12, 15 years, we've always promoted one-dimensional approach to market. Now, in the beginning, we were criticized, vilified, and ostracized by the recruitment industry. But with time, especially now over the last couple of years, we've seen a parabolic increase on interest in changing models. The reason being is that the older model it's always been flawed, but now the trigger of AI coming to market ultimately woke up everybody. If you think of it, just set recruiters aside. Think of the ultimate people that pay the bill, and these are the clients. With the arrival of AI, you've got clear split into the marketplace. You've got people that are concentrating on trying to be as efficient as they can be by using AI and continuing with the flawed model of transactional recruitment. In simple words, I'll strip the noise. You just deliver short lists of candidates based on CVs, resumes. I know you've got lots of work you do behind it, but essentially the client perceives you as someone who delivers 3 potentially suitable candidates. On the flip side, there is more and more people, still a small portion of the market, where people are concentrating on extending the service beyond candidate identification by adding value services. And these are the ones that we'll cover, hopefully, as much as we can, at least conceptually. So if you think of it, these are the 2 camps. The first camp, still predominant, people trying to be as efficient as possible to do the work faster and as cost-effective as possible for the client. The clients expect the same thing. And the main reason for that is that AI is now competing directly with the clients, with the recruiters.
Yeah.
Plamen, sorry, go ahead.
No. There's a point that you said there, because it's controversial what you're saying, because this is a message that we've been promoting or marketing for some time. But I saw a comment the other day saying, "Hey, listen, my contingent model is booming." So you are. I'm just playing devil's advocate here with you, just to sort of challenge you a little bit. But I said, somebody commented the other day, "Listen, my model is stronger than ever, because all clients they just want me to provide a short list of 3 or 4 resumes. They don't want any value add." Now, how do you counter that? What's your view to people who come from that angle? Say, "Hey, listen, I'm just carrying on pedaling. Yes, my price has gone down, but I'm just having to pedal faster. But my model's still working."
Well, let me give you another extension to that. I'm speaking with recruiters every day, hundreds of them, over the years, thousands. And the feedback that I'm getting using similar examples is now, especially larger companies are saying, "We don't want to talk to recruiters. You need to go through our ATS system and we'll come back to you if we're interested in any of the candidates you've delivered. And by the way, we don't want to know about your terms and conditions. These are ours. Take it or leave it."
Mm-hmm.
Now, anybody with half common sense will understand that this is a diminishing value service solution that eventually will be replaced by the AI tools that are available out there. And I know people could say you've got human relationships, all these, of course they're relevant, but they need to be delivered in a different way, which steps us into the format of consultative recruitment. We're not saying recruitment will die, but recruitment will become niche to the point, and when I say niche, not vertical niche, actually horizontal niche in terms of service solution offering. And the service solution offering will become specialist. Think of it this way. The clients don't want to know how it's done. They need to know the outcome, and the outcome needs to be, instead of the client, better than the client, and in a more cost-effective way than the client. So if recruiters are able to address these 3 points, articulate them and prove them to the client, you need to have evidence. Otherwise, it's just hearsay. So if you've got something you can demonstrate that you can do the work instead of the client, better than the client, in a more cost-effective way than the client, these are the service solutions that the clients will buy. And
but
guess what?
Mean cheaper? Doesn't that just mean cheaper?
Not necessarily it means cheaper. Going to that point, if you've got a service solution that is unique in the marketplace, that clearly represents value that you can demonstrate to the client will pay the relevant value, and you need to be able to demonstrate value. Now, the interesting thing is that over the years, we've become so sophisticated in our sales process, our community, the intra-community sales process, that people now know how to articulate that clearly. And there is a bigger and a very controversial element. Risk reversals. You can offer anything to the client, but if you don't back it with some reasonable risk reversal that the clients can see clearly, then you're more or less as everybody else. It's just your hearsay or say so. So what are the typical risk reversals? If you focus on quality of assessment and accuracy of hire, and we're proud to say that our clients can vouch for 96% plus retention rate over a period of 12 months minimum, and 93% over a period of 24 months. And that's data that comes out of over 7,000 roles being delivered using the same process, the same methodology, the same system. So imagine our clients say to employers, and if you decide to work with me, I can give you a risk reversal that very few in the marketplace will offer, and that's up to 12 months free replacement. Now, that's a big one, but you don't do it because you just want to win the business. You do it because you know that your probability of you having to replace is only 4%, and that is naturally reflected in the price that you charge the client.
Yeah, and cost is a big thing, isn't it? You know, one of the things that, and I think the cost is sometimes the thing that's in the client's mind the most. So, you know, what we're talking about here is moving from, you know, sending CVs to being a true recruitment partner. So how would you suggest that people go about moving the conversation with their clients away from initial upfront cost for a transactional service into more thinking about the value of working with a true recruitment partner, a long-term recruitment partner, and focusing on these outcomes?
Well, the way to answer this one best way is to once again give you an analogy. Think of a conveyor belt. Before you get anything at the end, you need to start doing a lot of work at the beginning, i.e. the raw materials, then the production specialists along the line, and then come to the end. Now, when you go to market with a new service proposition, firstly, this service proposition needs to be a good service proposition. Secondly, you need to put the effort in. There is no magic wands, only in Hogwarts. So people need to do the work. And many people that I speak to, they say, well, let me try it. What does that mean? Let me try it. So they take on the concept, go and pitch to the client a service solution. The client says, well, I'd rather stay with the old rules. And because of the lack of preparation and lack of clear ability to articulate the value add proposition, people just give up and say, oh, okay, then. And then they come to me and say, it didn't work. Well, it didn't work because you didn't do it well enough. Now, once again, going through the conveyor belt, what does that mean in terms of your process, starting with business development? Business development typically revolves around clearly positioning your brand, service, solution everywhere where a client can check you out. That's LinkedIn, that's social media, could be Instagram if you want to go, your website. Everything needs to talk consistent language. And this is our first step, which is, James, help me with that. What do we call it?
Nurture and engage is what
Nurture and engage. Exactly. So essentially, we need to get these elements right. The good news is that we've got an A to Z guidance and tools that will enable you to actually get your nurture and engage. The second step is pitch and win. Now, once you've got service proposition and you've actually coached the client in the process, then you come to the point where you sit in front of a client and you need to pitch with clear articulation of value add. Now, I'm just very generic here because there's not enough time to do that. But essentially, that's the key point. Now, imagine this.
Plum, can I just add a point in there, Plum? I think it's really important. I want to add a point for you. In terms of when we talk about pitch and win, one of the bits of feedback I hear from people, and I take what you said earlier on, I'm going to try it. Yeah. And I think, a lot of recruiters who'll be listening to this will say, I'm good at sales. My challenge is that first part, that nurture and engage. And what I counter that with is, what are you good at selling? Are you good at selling contingent recruitment, which is selling something for free? Is that selling or giving away? Giving away your time and value proposition. So the pitch and win element is about how to position the value proposition, because we were trying to talk about a little bit earlier about what are people buying, and the reality is what are they being sold. And if people's perceptions is they're just buying a short list of 3 or 4 CVs or resumes, then we've missed the point. We've missed the angle in there. I think we need to explain how that bit comes across. In
a sales process, we've said the 3 steps already: nurture and engage, pitch and win, and deliver and wow. This is the third one, but we're not going to cover this one today. Bottom line is that in the initial process, what does that mean? We all know the 3 steps in sales: know, like, and trust. Before you're able to sell anything to anybody or to offer your service solution for them to consider it seriously, you need to make them aware of what it is, and you need to do it through the process of multi-channel digital communication. And once again, very generic because we don't have the time, but essentially you need to have very specific processes to how to do it. We've got something that we coach our people called Dream 100. Sounds very generic again, but it's very specific in our terms. We're very clear in how we approach your clients. Now, once you've gone through this initial process of educating the client, think of it this way. If a client has a need at this moment in time and they're looking to partner with someone, you just come across the client's need, you're too late, because the client has not gone through the process of education. The client needs to have taken the decision to work with you well in advance before they have the need. And when the need arrives, they think of you as the potential service solution. So this is once again the conveyor belt. The first part is extremely important and people need to do a lot of work. Admittedly, that's the game. Or regardless of how good you are, you could be the best kept secret. That's your choices that you need to make. So bottom line, you need to go through the beginning. You need to have fundamentals right. You need to have the right people to help you throughout the process. So you don't have to invent the world. The world's already been done of retain. I mean, we've got over 350 recruitment clients worldwide that we've engaged with over time, and over 300 million in retained recruitment fees that have been won and delivered using our process. So I don't think it works. I know it works. We've got plenty of evidence of it.
Yeah, I think there's an important point that you made there, and it's an important distinction in terms of how we're looking to move these conversations away from cost. Because if you're chasing a vacancy, then cost is the discussion point, because the vacancy already exists, it's out there. The bit that you said in that conversation there is you need to be educating part of the conversation before the client has made the ultimate decision. Say, right now I'm pulling the trigger on, I need a new XYZ. So I think it's building that part of the equation. That's where the value. Because here's where you're talking about business outcomes. What will this person do for your business? Why is this role important? What are the expectations of it? You're looking to hire the next rock star. What are you doing to make it differently? So it's how do you move the conversation around to that part that I think we need to discuss. What have you got anything to say on that, Joe? Any thoughts?
I mean, sorry, okay. What is in my mind, because I'm old and the things go out.
Spit it out.
Here's the point. Do you know, our process is as such that you don't go to the client to say, have you got any vacancies? Yes, I do. Can I have it? Can I work for it because of XYZ? Not at all. The whole process actually creates a relationship which is prepared through the nurture and engage. The pitch and win is when the client has a need, or even before that, before the client has a need. Now, how do you become a retained recruitment partner? And how do you create lifetime value that's extended beyond the next role? Well, in order to do that, the whole pitch needs to be around improving talent acquisition processes as opposed to just filling a role. And when you're improving talent acquisition processes, ultimately, you position yourself as a management consultant in human capital or talent acquisition processes improvements. That's what you do. You're not a recruiter. You're a partner that helps people. Now, think of the analogy, the perception. When I say to you, management consultancy, probably what comes to mind is McKinsey, KPMG, Accenture. These are the true consultancies. When I say to you, recruiter, what do you see? Or what would the client perceive? Well, I'm not going to generalize it here. If you go online and type in Google, recruiters are, you'll get a list how we're perceived. So sadly, this needs to change. And that's once again is a process of overhauling the whole service proposition and slowing down in order to get better at it. If you keep doing the same thing, sooner or later, hamster wheel will spin so fast that you will just fly off it. And you're not going to have a job. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm talking doom and gloom here, but let's talk honesty here, reality.
Hey, listen, before we talk doom and gloom or not, just Plamen, we've reached, one of the things we'd say, it was prescient that 10 years ago or so, you wrote a book called The Death of Contingency. Now, at that time, AI didn't exist in the way that we know it today. So you've updated that book along with another book, which sort of highlights that. So, maybe just want to talk about that for a couple of seconds, because that's
okay.
with your point.
Well, in February 2000, there you go, lovely. Thank you, Julie. In 2017 February, my very first ebook was called The Death of Contingency Recruitment. And it was probably too early because everybody was angry about it. How dare you telling us that our business is dying? We've been doing this one for so many years, that will continue forever. Now, Death of Contingency Recruitment is, with the hindsight now, you could just download it on our iLibrary. If you go to iintro.com-iLibrary, there you go, thank you very much. You can ultimately download all these books. But I thought it'd be relevant for me to update it because we now got new reasons to consider that contingency is under pressure. Or never mind contingency. Think of it, consultative recruitment versus
transactional.
Help me out. Transactional recruitment. That's right. Yeah. Sorry. Transactional recruitment is ultimately the representation of contingency, and it's been popular for years. Still continues to be very popular because the clients are not educated. So think of it. I needed to update this one. Now we've had a tremendous number of downloads. I don't know how many, but massive amount, more than ever before. And the reason is because this here is not a comfort book. And it starts with the pre-frame of that, saying this is not comfort read. You'd probably feel uncomfortable. Think of it this way. When you feel uncomfortable, then you're more open to change. And that's what this is about. Now, the other book, the Recruitment Games, actually I wrote as a sequel to Death of Contingency, the original Death of Contingency. So we've changed nothing on it. We've just made some small alterations to update it. But essentially, it's the same book that was written in 2018 or something like that. So I hope anybody that's listening or possibly reviewing the podcast after, that's something that I'll encourage you to download from our iLibrary. These books are available as well as many others, but pay attention to these because these are the principal methodology that needs to change in the recruitment industry. So that's my take on it.
Good. Joe, over to you.
I love that you've the death of the contingent recruiter. So I met you, Plamen. Crikey, it was before COVID, just before COVID, at the Recruitment Expo. I'd just come off from talking, bumped into you, and we had the best conversation. And I took a copy of that home, and I couldn't believe how prophetic it was, And here we are 10 years later. And I think one of the beauties of where we sit, which is kind of on the outside looking into a certain degree, is you can see the curve, you can see the projection, you can see where things are heading. I think it's very difficult for recruiters when they're doing what they're doing day in, day out. They've got deadlines, they've got, they've got financial targets to hit. It's very, very difficult for them to go, okay, let's stop, let's completely reinvent what we're doing. To come back to James, your point earlier on about, the guy who said, look, I'm doing contingent and it's fine and it's working. You don't know what you don't know. And sometimes I think it's really hard for recruitment business owners to hear this. It's all completely true, but to hear this and then know how to change. So, of course, it's going to add value to the client side. Of course, it's different. It's odd. It's not normal to what they're used to working. They've been conditioned to work in a transactional way. But we can see the absolute benefit to the client of doing this. I want to talk for a second and pick your brains about the benefit to the recruiter of working in this consultative way as a management partner, specializing in recruitment and retention for their teams, for their recruitment clients. Because it's got to be a win-win, this, hasn't it? So we're not saying that this is going to be harder work and going to make you less money. actually it's the absolute opposite, isn't it, Plamen? The ROI on working this way is phenomenal.
Just before I answer that, I just want to say thank you to a few people that have already downloaded some of the books. I'm getting pop-ups here on my emails saying, oh, someone's downloaded. I'm not going to mention names, but thank you very much to the ones that you're listening. You're obviously taking action immediately. Fantastic. Now, keep going, by the way. They're not going to run out because we don't print them anymore. Nonetheless, though, it's important for you to download them. So, and then, by the way, if you've got a view on it, please come back to me and let's talk it through, because I'm happy to discuss specifically what is in the book and what questions you might have, etc. So, what was your question, Joe? Again,
the question was, what's in it for the recruiter?
Oh, good point. Yes.
Yeah, ROI.
So, ROI. Well, let's think of it this way. What's happening with the contingent market? Everybody's telling me that they're under pressure. Their fees are under pressure. There's less jobs available. And there is more competition. So just pick these three. Imagine now you can offer a service solution that very few offer. So you're immediately outside of the box. Secondly, when you position it with the clients with clear articulated value, I underline this one, you need to know what to show the client in order for them to get on the same site as you. There is no point of you pitching for business and they're looking at you and someone on the opposite side and say, well, how much you charge for that? No, price becomes irrelevant when the client sees the value. So as a consequence of that, people that we've been working with, and we've got numerous examples, are now winning, moving from contingent to retain. Their value-add service proposition is unique, so they win exclusive and retain business. Not only that, but some of them have actually said, I'm not doing any more contingent work. Now, if you're working on a contingent, the typical fill rate is 20 to 30%. So if you're working on 5 roles, you're likely, if you're lucky, to fill 2 or 3. Sometimes it's less than that. So if you do that, you've wasted 80% of your time, so to speak, for not getting paid. With retained, you get paid all the time. So your profit margins are increasing dramatically. If you're a business owner, you will see this one going through the roof. I've seen it in our own recruitment business when we started that. Now, secondly, when you're working on retain with a client with a unique service proposition, you lock the competition out. Because once the client has tried it and validated it, ultimately, they don't want to go back to CVs. Because remember, we do the work instead of the client, better than the client, and in a more cost-effective way than the client. So if you're able to prove that and trial it, ultimately the clients start doing business with you over and over and over again. So locking the competition out, increasing your fees, and most importantly, when you create a relationship with a client, they don't go anywhere else. The lifetime value of a client extends. Now, what does it mean to you? Never mind the higher profits. Never mind the higher fees. Never mind the fact that you have great satisfaction of working with a client that really cares for what you do, not just flip-flopping CVs. Now, what happens is, in monetary terms, you can predict what's going to happen over the next years. Now, in our business, the lifetime value of a client is measured annually. Every year, we review it. And the lifetime value in our business is over 5 years. That means that if I've gone today and pitched for a piece of business and I've won 20 or 30,000 pounds, but over the year, the client's strategy is to recruit 3-4 more of these. Ultimately, if I've got 100 grand worth of fees, I know that predictably I can plan for next 5 years to receive a percentage of this 100,000. I mean, if business is growing, then ultimately that will increase in the value. But the point is, you lock competition out and you lock the client in. You don't lock them. They lock themselves because they see the service as second to none. The point is,
what call that one liquid cement, Plamen, don't we?
That's right. We call it liquid cement.
Yeah, listen, people can join, go and have a look at the Intro website. They'll actually share some of the methodology. I think some of the things, that last couple of minutes, Plamen, were really, really good. I think I really enjoyed some of the things you said. What the bit that probably people are missing is, you said, you use the word, you've got to show the client what you do. And that's the bit that people don't understand, because if all you're offering is, I can find CVs faster than anybody else, you haven't understood the value proposition, and you haven't been able to educate the employer on what that value proposition is. And what we do, it's a multi-dimensional approach. You're actually sharing with the client that when you say we do better than you, the reality is the client, all they're doing is reviewing CVs and compare it to a job description. When you're giving them multiple data points, it'll mean they can make a data-driven hiring decision, and better data leads to better decision-making leads to longer-term retention leads to longer-term productivity, longer-term profitability. And that works both ways, as we said, for both the clients. Listen, we had some great people sort of watching in today. Again, Plamen, like you, I've seen the ebooks downloading and pinging, so that's great.
More are coming. Thank you.
Hello to I can see we've got some international guests here from Bulgaria. They're obviously following you, Plamen. So hello, Kalyan, in terms of
Kalyan. Hi, Kalyan.
Good to see him here watching. Kate, great to see you too as well. So from that side of things, appreciate all of that. So again, it was great to have you here today. Plamen, we've said some great things. So I hope people do connect with you. I hope people do download the book and challenge you on it. A lot of people sometimes think we're scaremongering, and we're not. We're saying you've got to be realistic. There's change happening. You use a great word. The changes, you used the word parabolic earlier, right at the beginning of the which is a great word. Yeah. Other people might use exponential, but hey, why use the word exponential when we can use the word parabolic? But it is the changes happening quickly. We're not scaremongering. We're saying to evolve and to stay relevant, you've got to move. So you've got to sort of get on that journey. And the sooner you get on that journey, the better. A lot of the organizations for example, in the UK, there are bodies like TRN run by James Osborne, all talking about consultative recruitment. We're bang on message with that one. Organizations like the Team Network are run by Andy Dunn. Exactly, bang on that. Simon Lewis at Rec Connect. Now, there are other leaders of other groups who just say, oh, you guys are scaremongering, trying to put the fear of God into people. We're not. We're here to help. We're here to consult with you to say, hey, listen, what can you do? So get in touch with us, visit our website, book a discovery call with us, read Plamen's book, do all of those particular pieces. So from that side of things, I think, today's been really fascinating eye-opener, I think, Joe. What are your thoughts? What are your take on today that we can share before we leave?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think doing a session like this is an eye-opener. I do think it sometimes raises more questions than it answers. Those books, do read them, download them, read them, get in touch with Plamen or myself or James. We're always happy to have conversations with people who want to explore this. And there's no such thing as a silly question. So do get in touch. Now is the time.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Correct. Better now than ever.
Yeah, indeed. Plamen, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back again next time. So look out for our next show. It'll be coming up soon. We'll be sharing all the details with you on LinkedIn and through email channels, etc. So do look forward to seeing you again. Take care. But it's thanks very much, Plamen, for all your insights today. Hopefully people have found them relevant. But it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. And
it's goodbye from me too. Take care.
Whichever way you are.
Thanks, guys.